You're listening to Sports and More with Chris and Tom. Welcome to Sports and More with Chris and Tom. I am Chris, and this is the first episode of the USFL recap show, week 2 recap. And I know Tom is in this episode. You can clearly see it's just Chris. It's a Chris solo episode. And that's because Tom has better things to do with his life than to watch a startup football league. And me being a single dude, I have nothing better to do. So this is what I'm doing. I'm watching USFL football. I'm giving you guys reactions to it. I'm giving you guys my take on what the heck is going on in this startup league. I know I need to your life, but hey, I have fun watching football. So be it. Let's get into this with the week 2 scores and highlights. And I know you guys can see the ticker down below. You can see the scores. I shouldn't have to give them to you, but I'm going to give them to you anyway because it's a new league, and, well, that's what I do. In the first game this weekend, the Michigan Panthers take on the New Jersey Generals in a awful game. The score was 6-10. Generals winning. And the Panthers played the first round pick, Shea Patterson, the whole game, and it didn't go well. It did not go well. He was 14-19. Completed 48.3% of his passes, 124 yards, 4.3 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, no INTs, a 60.1 passer rating. And this either tells me that Patterson's not a good quarterback, and Patterson is just that bad, or their offensive coordinator doesn't know how to call offensive plays and is just misusing the talent around him. But the defense seems to be pretty good. The Generals continue on with their 2 QB system they've been using. They've been using Luis Perez to throw the football and Deandre Johnson the running QB, which worked against the Stallions in week 1 and not so much this week because everyone saw what was coming. Perez's line was 13 of 19, completed 68.4% of his passes, 97 yards, only 5.1 yards per attempt, 0 touchdowns, 1 INT, a 58.4 passer rating. Deandre Johnson's line, 5 of 6, 83.3 yards. 83.3 completion percentage, 48 yards, 8 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, no INTs, a 100 passer rating. He also had 10 carries for 27 yards or 2.7 yards per carry. And in my personal opinion, Mike Riley needs to make a decision about which QB to play because right now teams know, if it's Luis Perez, we can see a handoff, play action, passing plays. You're going to do more of a nickel defense. When you see Deandre Johnson into the game, you're just going to load the box and say, we dare you to throw the football because we know you can't do so very well. And in my estimation, I would go with Luis Perez. Perez is clearly the better thrower of the football. You just watch him throw the football. It's much cleaner, much crisper. He can just throw the ball down the field. Accuracy, Deandre Johnson cannot do that right now. So for me, I would go Perez over Johnson, but we'll get more into that later. And both defenses in this game between the Panthers and Generals played well, I guess. Another way of putting it. It might be both offenses were bad, but hey, defenses did their job, kept it a low-scoring game. But both kickers for this team just stink. And that's the theme of this league, is that kicking in this league stinks. Enough said about that. We're going to get on to better topics, better games that were fun to watch. Like the first game on Saturday, the Pittsburgh Maulers, who were 0-1, coming off a bad loss, taking on the Philadelphia Stars, who lost to the Breakers in week 1. And the final score was Maulers 23, Stars 30, in a absolutely banger of a game to get going. Maulers didn't do well. They only scored 3 points. And the offense finally figured out that you had to throw the football. A shocker that a running backs coach decided to run the football for the first half against the Tampa Bay Bands. Got killed for it. Realized, hey, maybe we throw the football. This might help us out. And they kind of did. They scored 13 points on offense, and 10 of those points were defensive points, like a pick 6, and then defense forced a fumble forced a pick for an easy field goal. So no, my bad, another fumble. Yeah, forced fumble for an easy field goal. So defense did their job to help out the offense. Josh Love was the starter again. Kyle Lauletta, who was their first-round draft pick, has been benched because Josh Love just knows the system better. And Josh Love had a line of 21 of 39 for 53.8% completion percentage. 236 yards, 6.1 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, 67.9 passer rating. Improvements, but not great. As you can see, 2 INTs, not good. Completion percentage, not great, but he did get better compared to the first game. And Bailey Gaither had a monster day receiver, 7 receptions for 117 yards, 16.7 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. and that's with 9 targets, so he was extremely efficient with his targets. The ground game also did well, 123 yards on 28 carries for 4.4 yards, which is a staple of the Stars defense, which is, we're going to let you run the football. You ain't going to pass the ball on us, and that's how they're going to win games. If you can run the ball on them, you could just pound the rock, pound the rock, pound the rock. If you try to throw the football against the Stars, you're in deep trouble. Stars offense showed up and did what they did in week 1. Again, pass the football, not much running, and they turned the ball over again. It's kind of hard to watch. It's kind of hard to judge how good the Stars offense can be because they turn the ball over so much. They've had 5 turnovers in the first 2 weeks. They don't turn the ball over. They just put up points. That's what they do. And because Brian Scott, their quarterback, is just slinging the rock all around the yard. He went 26 of 36 for 72.2% of his passes were completed. 272 yards, 7.6 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 190 for a 110 passer rating. The 190 was essentially a punt. It was like 4th and like 10 or so from the Maulers, 37. So it was just essentially an unarmed punt is what it was. And he also had another fumble that was returned for a 76-yard touchdown. This, which brings his total up to 3 lost fumbles on the year. 3 fumbles on your second loss. This one's not really his fault. It was a daggum good play by Maulers DN Carlo Kemp, who came from behind, did the old peanut tell me punch on the ball as he's running with it, and the ball popped out, and they just ran it back for a touchdown. So this time, unlike the Breakers game where he was just loosey-goosey with the football, he was much cleaner with it, and it was just good play. And again, like I said, the ground game for the Stars is non-existent. 45 yards and 16 carries for 2.8 yards per carry. They need to clean that up if they're going to be a better team this year, because if they just know, as Brian's got dropping back to pass, teams are just going to tee off on that all game long. Although for the Maulers, they help out because Scott just eluded the rush all day long, unlike against the Breakers. And at receiver, Maurice Alexander had a big game, 8 receptions, 87 yards, 10.9 yards per catch, 2 touchdowns, and 9 targets. So he caught pretty much everything thrown his way, and he had 2 touchdowns to boot. And like I said earlier, the Maulers defense kept him in this game, forcing 3 turnovers. One of them, like the scoop and score on the Brian Scott fumble. And the Stars defense, like I said, struggles with the ground game, but they do really well against the pass, and especially when you throw the ball anywhere near Channing's dribbling. As long as Channing's dribbling's in coverage, that ball's going to be broken up or picked off. That's how it works. And yes, I know the Maulers had a touchdown against them, but that might have been blown coverage. We don't know. It's early, but it's Channing's dribbling. If he's one-on-one with the guy, it's locked down at this point. And following up that banger of a game, you have this Birmingham Sounds, the home team of all games at this point, because all games are played in Birmingham, facing the Houston Gamblers. They won that game 33-28, and so Saturday, 2 great games, so it was awesome. This might have been the best game of the season so far. And the Seattleites have fed off that crowd noise and have had great turnovers for the games. Like, they get a good 10,000-ish fans, I would say, at their games. The other teams average 10 fans per game, so it's a lot different when they're out there. Jaymar Smith, who should be their QB1 no matter when Alex Magoo comes back from his ankle injury, because Jaymar Smith can ball. 20 of 30, 66.7% completion percentage, 229 yards, 7.6 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 97.8 passer rating. Also at 31 yards on 8 carries for 3.9 yards per carry on the ground. Jaymar Smith does it all for that team, and it helps when your coach and when you play with your coach for 4 years in college at Louisiana Tech. The ground game was the perfect complement of this past game with 169 yards on 33 carries, 5.1 yards per carry. Did an excellent job. Marley Williams with the big play of the season for 64 yards. Big throw from Jaymar Smith. Williams ended the day with 3 receptions, 88 yards, 1 touchdown on 3 receptions. So Marlon Williams didn't have much else besides that catch, but it was a huge catch that pretty much sealed the deal for the Stallions in that game. Gamblers' offense was carried by the defense again because the offense for the Gamblers isn't very good with Clayton Thorson and QB. Defense first 2 turnovers that led to 10 of the Gamblers' points in this game. And they really don't have a quarterback, which is not good. Clayton Thorson isn't very good at throwing the football, I've noticed. He went 13-27, 48.1 completion percentage, 141 yards, 5.2 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, 3 INTs, 49.1 passer rating. They actually went to Kenji Bahar late in that game. He went 1 for 6 for 16.7% of his passes completed, 9 yards, and also had one, which is 1.5 yards per attempt. He got hurt on the drive he was put in. He went to throw the football, got hit by a Stallion. His thumb then his thumb hit the guy's helmet. It looks like he broke his thumb or something like that because he was in a cast after that drive, so he might be done for a while. So the Gamblers have one quarterback, which is no quarterback, because Clay Thorson does not look great from the football, but the Gamblers can carry the load by running the rock very, very well. They had 137 yards on 26 carries for 5.3 yards per carry, no touchdowns, but the running game got them into position to score points. And Nick Vogel, their kicker, it might be their best weapon. He went 3 for 3 on field goals with a 50-yard field goal. So there is a kicker in the USFL. It's Nick Vogel, and he went 1 for 2 on extra points. Defenses for both teams had pick sixes. Likely the Gamblers had a phenomenal diving pick six off of Jaymar Smith. And the Stanleys also had a beautiful pick six of their own. So defenses helped out with the scoring. But the Gamblers' defense struggled more against the Stanleys' offense, more due to the Stanleys' time of possession. And their own offense just turned the ball over left, right, center. So I think the Stanleys' defense... Sorry, guys. Molly's barking. She heard something. We're going to let her... Hey... Calm down there, old girl. Sorry about that, guys. So if the Gamblers don't turn the ball over, this might be a different outcome. But that also plays into the fact that the Sounds have a good defense and a good offense. And what should have been the game of the week, the New Orleans Breakers versus Tampa Bay Bandits. Two teams undefeated. Bandits thought to be the best team in the USFL going into the season. Breakers showed a phenomenal defense against the Stars. This should be a good game. It was a dud. It was the dud of the week. The Breakers, in a score of 34-3, Breakers shellacked the Bandits today. It was hard to watch. I watched the whole game, and I was like, I should probably turn this off and watch something else because it's just bad. But I watched it to see if anything changed in the game, which it didn't. The Breakers' defense is great, and Jonathan Adams, the receiver for the Breakers, has some phenomenal catches. I think he only had 5 catches, but 3 of them were highlight reel catches, which is awesome for a new league. Kyle Sloter, the QB for the Breakers, did his job, especially when your team just blowing team out. You don't need to do a whole lot. He went 25 of 39, completed 64.1% of his passes, 266 yards through the air, 6.8 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no INTs, 101 passer rating. A lot of those yards were on big chunk plays where he just threw the ball up and watched John Adams go up and grab it. So not like a picture perfect just pick him apart game. It was just he had a lot of chunk plays to Adams just by tossing up in the air. Adams had a great one catch down the sideline, which was a great play. He went up the ladder, grabbed it with his left hand, I believe, left or right hand in the air, and just came down with it. It was a phenomenal play. He ended the day with 5 receptions for 92 yards, 18.4 yards per catch. Not a touchdown, but he does on 9 targets. So he's more of the big play threat and not much of the actual possession receiver threat. The running game for the Breakers was just pound the rock, and make the bench just give up. 33 carries, 108 yards, 3.3 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. So they did their job running the football. But again, you don't have to do much when your defense is just locking down the other team's offense so well. And the Bandits defense was out of shape. They're just big guys who can't really deal with a fast-paced offense, which is what the Breakers did. Breakers came out, ran a bunch of hurry-up, no-huddle offense, and just kept the Bandits gassed the entire game. It was a great job by head coach Larry Fedora. And Jordan Taeyang has not looked good since the first round of the season. First round of the season, he went down the field, boom, 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 5 of 5, 83 yards, touchdown. Looked like the Jordan Taeyang we thought we were getting, and instead he's been anything but that since. And he's the starter on this other team because backup is even worse than he is right now. I mean, he went 8 of 18 today, 44.4% completion percentage, 62 yards. That's it, 3.4 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, 190, a 30.3 pass rating. Good God Almighty, that's Rex Grossman level numbers right there. It's bad. He also had 4 carries for 45 yards and for 11.2 yards per carry. So if he ran the football more, they might have had more success. Ground game did find some success in some Breakers. 30 carries for 130 yards, 4.3 yards per carry. But when you're down by 20 points at the half, you got to throw the football. You have no choice. And the Breakers have the best defense in the USFL. It's not close. It's not a competition. They have it. Their D-line is phenomenal, led by Davin Bellamy. He just attacks, and you cannot stop him. The only way he doesn't get a sack is because the quarterback just gets rid of the football or he just has enough time to get out of the pocket to throw the ball. He's a phenom. He's a stud, and that D-line is nasty. But they are banged up now. They have now 3 DBs out. At the end of the game with actually their quarterback, Jonathan Adams, playing safety for them because they're that banged up in the defensive back unit. The Bandits defense, they are big, but it was their undoing because the Breakers just said, all right, you're big. We're just going to run by you. You can't stop us. You're too slow. We're just run by you, which you think wouldn't work at the line of scrimmage, but it worked the whole game. The Breakers said, quick snap, throw the ball out quick, and we're going to beat you that way, and they did. And their offense, Todd Haley, former NFL head coach, known for his offense, doesn't know what he's doing with an offense, it looks like, because they look inept. The Bandits looked inept at offense today. Whether that's because the Breakers were just that much better than the Bandits O-line or because Todd Haley didn't know what to do and he's just running NFL offenses in a league that's not going to work. It's just not going to work right now. So there's your games of the week. I know you guys see the scores down below, but that's what happened. I watched every game. I watched almost every minute of these games. So my breakdown is essentially trying to give you guys the quick points instead of giving you the here's what I'm I'm trying to give you guys the quick hits so you guys know what happened, so you can get a feel for these games. Like I said, 2 bad games. One was just all defense, no offense. The other game was the Breakers were good, Bandits sucked. And then you had 2 games that were just bangers. Good games to watch. You watch the game and say, okay, I can get behind this league. You're going to have that with a new league. There are going to be some good games and some bad games. Hopefully you get to see an even amount. And hopefully as the year goes on, we get more good games than we do bad games. With that being said, let's get into the QB power rankings. I know power rankings are the thing to do on these shows, but I'm going to give you guys a QB one because people like to watch QBs. They don't turn into watch, the left tackle, the right tackle. I like watching O-lines play because they dictate how games go. But we got to talk about the QBs, and we're going to rank them 1 through 9 because the Jones play with 2 quarterbacks, so we go 1 through 9. And here we go. At number 9, Shea Patterson, quarterback of the Michigan Panthers. The first overall draft pick has been bad. 31 of 54 for 57.4% of his passes completed, 316 yards in total for 2 games, 5.9 yards per attempt, 158 yards per game, 1 touchdown, no INTs. He's been sacked 5 times, 112.7 passer rating, and he's got 44 rushing yards as well. He's also fumbled 3 times and lost 1. It doesn't sound that bad when we hear some of these other QB stats I'm going to give you, but when your team's 0-2 and averaging 9 points per game, your QB might suck. That's it. He might just not be that good at his job, and that might be all it is. It could also be that Jeff Fisher's OC over at the Panthers isn't that good either. We don't know. It's hard to tell, but it looks like Patterson is not the answer. At number 8, we have Deandre Johnson of the New Jersey Generals, who's 8 of 14, 57.1 completion percentage, 107 yards in total, 7.6 yards per attempt, no touchdowns, no INTs. But he also has 22 carries for 125 yards, 62.5 yards per game, 5.7 yards per carry. DeAndre Johnson is the running quarterback. At this point, he's a running back playing quarterback, not a quarterback. But he's better at his job than Shea Patterson is. That's why he's number 8, not number 9. I know I have an affinity for guys who can throw the football, but I have to admit when a guy actually can do his job and score points, whereas Patterson cannot do that. Number 7, this hurts. This was my guy in the XFL. Jordan Taeyang with a Tampa Bay Bandits has just been miserable. He has disappointed me personally, and I take offense to that. He's completed 28 of 50 passes for 56% of those passes, 247 yards, 4.9 yards per attempt, 123.5 yards per game, 1 touchdown, 3 INTs, 3 sacks, a 51 passer rating. He also has 69.6 passer rating. Sorry about that, people. I misread my notes. He also has 52 yards on 5 carries for 10.4 yards per carry. Tayamu's problem is that I don't know if Haley knows how to call for Tayamu. Tayamu needs to use his legs, run boot action, run bootlegs, run RPOs, and they're not doing that in the Bandits offense. They're just running NFL offenses, and there's a reason why Tayamu's not in the NFL. He cannot run NFL offenses. He needs to be on the move, using his legs, throwing off platform, and that's what he does best. He's not going to step back, throw from the pocket, and hit his guys every time. Yes, he can do that, but it's not his game. So this might be Tayamu, this might be the OC, It's probably both at this point in time. The Taeyang doesn't look good either, so not good for the Bandits because the guy who all of us thought was going to be the best QB or one of the top QBs in this league is right now number 7. And number 6, Clayton Thorson, the Houston Gamblers. Like I mentioned, has not played good football, but they've won a game despite him not playing good football. Although that could be because they're playing the lowly Michigan Panthers. He's 22 of 44 for 50% of his passes completed, 214 yards, 4.9 yards per attempt, 107 yards per game, 3 touchdowns, 4 INTs, 2 sacks, 95.2 passer rating. And he's only at this spot due to Shea Patterson being abjectly horrible at winning football games, Deandre Johnson being a running back, and Taeyang just being a massive disappointment. You could probably flip Taeyang and Thorson in these rankings, but Taeyang was such a disappointment. You had to put him at 7 because he's not done anything special, and Thorson's actually won a football game with his ability to throw the football and has put up points, where Taeyang and the Bandits have not put up points at all. Number 5, I went Josh Love here, the Pittsburgh Maulers, because week 1 they didn't do much throwing the football. Week 2 he came out and showed he can throw the football. 30 of 54 for 55.6% of his passes completed, 357 yards through the air, 6.6 yards per attempt, 178.5 yards per game, 2 touchdowns, 2 INTs, being sacked 5 times for a 115.9 passer rating. This offense may have found themselves in the Stars game, where if you run the ball and use play action, Josh Love can do enough to win you games. The Maulers are 0-2, yes, but they have an identity. They know what they're doing, and they could become the team that makes the playoffs out of the North Division because they now know what to do on offense. Defense is good, not great, but the offense now knows run the football, play action, and like Josh Love, sling it enough to keep defenses honest. Number 4 is a part-time QB, Luis Perez of the New Jersey Generals, who should be the starting quarterback. Let me read you the stat line for me to let you guys know what's going on. He's 26 of 37, 70.3% of his passes completed, 240 yards, 6.5 yards per attempt, 120 yards per game, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 3 sacks, 137.2 passer rating. It's this simple. Let Luis Perez cook, Mike Riley. That's all. Let him throw the football and keep Deandre Johnson on the bench. Just run a normal-ish offense and let Perez throw the football. Just be done with it. He can sling it. Let him play. Number 3 on this list, we get to a guy who is the Kirk Cousins of this league at this point. That's Kyle Sloter of the New Orleans Breakers. Kyle Sloter's job is to not lose the game that his defense wins him. That's his job. Don't lose the freaking game because your defense will win the game. He's done that very well. He's 42-66 for 63.6% completion percentage, 416 yards, 6.3 yards per attempt, 200 yards per game, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, no sacks. He's not been sacked. So good O-line play by the Breakers and good pocket manipulation by Slater as well. 101.6 passer rating. Like I said, not the best passer, but he knows how to maneuver in the pocket and throw those high balls out for his big receivers and not get picks. He should have a couple INTs, but defenses have dropped them. So he should have more INTs than he has. So he's done a good job there. And he's the proverbial game manager. Just don't lose the game for us. He's done that well. Which is sad to say a game manager is number 3, but in the early stages of the league, you just need a game manager who doesn't screw the pooch in these games. Now we're getting spicy. I need to take a sip of water for numbers 1 and 2 because this is where you get to a coin flip. And it gets hot when you talk about these two quarterbacks. You have number 2, Jaymar Smith of the Birmingham Sounds. Yes, the home team of this league. He should be QB1 for the Sounds. When you complete 31 and 51 passes, yes, only 60.8 completion percentage, 7.5 yards per attempt, 192.5 yards per game, 3 touchdowns, 190, 139.7 pass rating. He also has 11 carries for 44 yards and a rushing touchdown. He has 1 fumble, none lost, so he doesn't turn the ball over all that much. And the team scores points when he's on the field. You gotta go Jaymar Smith. And it helps when you know your coach's offense. He knows Skip Holtz's offense inside and out because he played for him at Louisiana Tech for 4 years. So it's paying huge dividends early because he can just go at a quick speed. He's not the best passer. He doesn't always have clean passes because he sometimes misses guys or he's reading the play perfectly. And the tight end is leaking out too far on the play because he's not stopping when he should, because he's not reading the play as Jaymar is, because Jaymar knows what to do with the ball in the system, which is helping. But when receivers don't, you tend to have passes that look worse than they really are. That happened in the game this week. But Jaymar Smith has been balling, has won 2 games, and the Sounds are 2-0 because of Jaymar Smith at quarterback. And that's a huge help to your team. And he's only number 2 because I think number 1 has been better than everyone else. And it's not by a lot over Jaymar Smith, but by enough. And that's Brian Scott of the Philadelphia Stars, who I picked to be the MVP this league, because Brian Scott's been there, done that in spring football, and he continues to do that right now. He is 51 of 72 passes. That's 6 more than I believe Kyle Slaughter. He's completed 51 of those for 70.8% completion percentage. He just completes passes. That's all he does. 474 yards in 2 games, 6.6 yards per attempt, 237 yards per game, by far the best in the USFL right now. He also has 4 touchdowns, 2 INTs. He has been sacked 10 times and still can put up these numbers. A 138.9 passer rating. He also has 9 carries for 23 yards. Not great. He has a rushing touchdown, 4 fumbles, 2 of them lost. So he's got to hold on to the football better. And as Scott goes, so does the Stars offense, because they have no ground game. Their O-line is trash, and it's just Brian Scott manipulating the pocket and throwing the ball on time to players and hitting them in stride open. If he has enough time to throw the football, or can create enough time to throw the football, it's going to be a completion, and it's going to be for good yardage. And he's played in 3 spring league seasons with Mark Andrews, his head coach, so he knows this offense very well. It's just a matter of them getting more acquainted with his receivers, tight ends, and getting the O-line to play better. If that O-line is any better than they are now, if they just step up to just about the Bandits level of the O-line, maybe like anything closer to the Breakers. Breakers are the best O-line. If the Stars O-line gets closer to the Breakers O-line, the Stars aren't losing a game. It's just that simple. If the Stars O-line gets a slight bit better, they're not losing a game the rest of the way out. They have the best quarterback, and they will not lose if their O-line is any better. And if Brian Scott can learn to use 2 hands on the football in the pocket, just stop fumbling, and you'll be fine. Which leads us to the USFL Power Rankings. This is where we rank the teams. This is where I rank the teams. I rank the teams. I give you Chris's USFL Power Rankings and let you know how teams are playing, so you know if you watch a game, you know who you're watching. And so we're going to start this real easy, 8 through 1. You're going to know who sucks, who's good, rather quickly. Number 8, Michigan Panthers. Defenses look good against 2 bad offenses. They've played the Maulers and they've played the Generals, offenses that aren't firepowers, but their offense stinks. It just stinks. It's bad. Garbage. Is a typical Jeff Fisher football team. Good defense, no offense. They're just bad. Number 7, the Pittsburgh Maulers, 0-2. Their defense is good. Let me preface this. Their defense is good. Their offense just needs to figure out what they're doing, which I think they did in week 2 against the Stars. They need to stop the turnovers on offense, and their defense needs to keep forcing turnovers. Because if they don't force turnovers, that offense doesn't have enough rhythm, and perhaps the Josh Love play action spread out offense could help this team score points and could rise up the ranks. They could easily rise up higher than they are now within the next couple of weeks. Number 6, the New Jersey Generals. The reason why they're 6 and not 5 or 4 for that matter is because their head coach Mike Riley is the biggest problem with their team. The 2 QB system is not working. Figure it out, pick one QB and roll with it. So help me, they pick Deandre Johnson, I'm going to lose my mind. Because then you have no pass attack, and you're just going to be running the football. The Maulers showed you, if you just run the football, you will get wrecked in this league. No matter how good you think you are running the football, you cannot do that. I mean, the Panthers stymied that that rushing attack. They need to go to Luis Perez right now and be done with it. Because Luis Perez could fly up to number 2 or 3 in the QB rankings. He's that good. They just need to let him cut loose. Number 5, Tampa Bay Bandits. Again, biggest problem is the offense. There are 2 problems, actually. Multiple problems with this team right now. the head coach Todd Haley is an offensive head coach who's letting his OC call plays, and he's doing a poor job at it. No two ways about it. P as in poor, or in Harry Potter terms, T as in troll. It's that bad calling plays, and Taeyang has not looked good. We all thought Taeyang was going to be the hunt for an MVP, and he just is not. And this team, and they may miss the playoffs because Taeyang was not look good and the offense doesn't look good. So they need to figure this stuff out. They need to figure it out now. I know it's only week 2, but it's a 10-week season. You have 8 weeks to go. Figure this stuff out now because the Stallions and Breakers are for real, and we'll get to them later on this list. Number 4, Houston Gamblers. Defense, defense, defense. That's it. Clayton Thorson just needs to get consistent. If he gets slightly more consistent, this team is going to be a good team that perhaps misses the playoffs because they're in the same divisions as Stallions and Breakers. 2 teams from each division make the playoffs. As you can see on the ticker, I have a North and South division split for you guys. The Stallions and Breakers are in the Gamblers division, so the Gamblers could become you could stay here as the 4th best team and miss the playoffs because they're in the same division as the Stallions and Breakers. Number 3, Philadelphia Stars. They have 2 problems, both of them big, but they've been able to put points despite those problems. No ground game, poor pass protection. Shore those 2 things up. Shore up the O-line play. This team does not lose the game going out. Because Brian Scott, if he can just do what he did this week and not be loosey-goosey with the football when he runs. Again, he fumbled today. Better play by the D end. The Stars should be 2-0. They should be 2-0 if they don't turn the ball over and their O-line plays cleaned up. This team could be up to number 1 if their O-line and running game just get slightly better. Because Brian Scott is that dude, and he's right now the MVP of this league because he's carrying the Stars with no help from this O-line or running game. Defense is good. Like I said, can stop the pass. Not as great against the run, but they are good enough to slow run games down. Number 2, this is where we get controversial here. Number 2, Birmingham Sounds, the home team of the league right now. The Sounds defense allows a whole lot of points. A whole lot of them. They've allowed 56 points so far this year, I believe, but their offense has scored 65 points. So, hey, you're undefeated, but not because of your defense. It ain't because of that defense. It's because Jaymar Smith at QB has been able to do enough to win games and score a lot of points, and the crowd helps give this team juice. When the games get tight, they get juiced up because they have 10,000 fans cheering for them when the other teams have 10 fans. Sorry, get my words mixed up. I've been so hyped about this episode that I'm losing my words. Stallions could upset the proverbial apple cart because a lot of people thought coming into this league, you're going to see the Breakers with that defense and the Bandits with their offense and just team in general take the South. Stallions might take the South because they know what they're doing on offense and defense, which is the difference in this league. If you know what to do in a new league, if you know what to do on offense and defense, you'll win games. It's not about talent right now. It's about knowing how to call plays, knowing your assignments, knowing your job, especially at QB. That's going to win you games. And number 1, the best team in all the land in the USFL, the New Orleans Breakers. Not because of the offense, because that defense is legit. They are the monsters of the USFL. It's like the Bears defense in '85. That's how they're playing right now. That D-line led by Davin Bellamy is nasty. They have 10 sacks in 2 weeks. They are good. They get after you. You cannot stop them. You need to have max protect when you ever drop back to pass. 5 O-linemen in the USFL blocking those 4 dudes rushing the passer are dead meat. It's over. You have to max protect. You have to chip Bellamy to buy time to throw the football. You have to do it that way. Otherwise, you are screwed. Draw plays work against that D-line because they just rush downhill, but they can still stop you if you just run a simple run play. So that Breakers D-line is legit. They're 2-0 because in week 1, their defense and special teams saved them because the offense was doing jack squat for most of the game. And yes, there's injury concerns in the secondary, but when your D-line is this good, it doesn't matter. You could have 4 trash cans out there covering these corners. If you have a second to throw the football, you are screwed. So that's how good that D-line is, that it doesn't matter they have injuries at corner. Like, it would hurt them playing the Stars, and that's it. That's it. No other team would be able to do anything because The Breakers just get after you. And Slaughter, like I said, isn't the best quarterback. He's the best game manager. He is Kirk Cousins who wins games. So give me the Breakers at number 1, Stanley's number 2, Stars at 3, and then a whole bunch of after that. That's how this league is right now. You have the Breakers who can play football and defense very well. Stanley's can play offense very well and win games. Stars who have the best quarterback in the league, and then a whole bunch of after that. Not ain't much after that right now. Generals can go up there if they just stick to Luis Perez, and you'll see the Generals pop up to 4 with ease. But their problem is their head coach. He just needs to make a decision right now. All right, so for those of you who have watched this episode now, want to watch a few games, see what Chris is talking about. I'm going to give you the week 3 schedule and give you games to watch and games to avoid like the plague if you want to watch good football. Week 3 schedule, first game of the weekend, Tampa Bay Bandits, 1-1, number 5 in my power rankings, versus the Houston Gamblers, who are 1-1, number 4 in my power rankings. They play Saturday, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time, the greatest time zone in all the land on Fox. We'll see. It could be a good game. It could be a bad game. We don't know. It depends on how Townley plays. It depends on how Thorson plays. That's really it. Because both defenses can be good. Both quarterbacks are inconsistent and suck right now. So it depends. This game, the next game of the week. Birmingham Sounds, 2-0, number 2 in the power rankings. At the New Orleans Breakers. I know at, in quotation, because all the games are playing in Birmingham. At the New Orleans Breakers, who are 2-0, number 1 in my power rankings, so number 2 v number 1, Saturday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Fox. Watch that game. That is the game to watch if you want to get into USFL. That will be the game. It will have all the fans there, and it will be a very, very good game. You'll have offense versus defense. Let's go. See who wins this game. Davin Bellamy versus Jaymar Smith. That's going to be a show. Kyle Slaughter, he may have to actually win the football game because I don't know if even that D-line can stop Jaymar Smith because he'll just get out of the pocket and run if he needs to. That should be a banger of a game. First game on Sunday, avoid it. Avoid it like the plague. Pittsburgh Maulers 0-2, number 7 in the power rankings versus the Michigan Panthers are 0-2, number 8 in my power rankings. Is at 1:37 Sunday on USA, of course, on your Standard Time. Avoid that game like the plague. I will watch it so I can give you guys a report next week. But geez, I'm going to want to gouge my eyes out after that game's over. Don't avoid it like the plague, people. Listen to me. Avoid it. It's a trap. And then the final game of the week, New Jersey Generals 1-1, number 6 in my power rankings, versus the Philadelphia Stars 1-1, number 3 in my power rankings. That's Sunday. That's on Sunday, 7 p.m. on Peacock. It's not on NBC. It's on Peacock only. So if you have Peacock, watch the game. If you don't, I'm sorry. Blame NBC. This game should be good. If the Generals go to 1 QB, this will be a banger of a show. This is the top 2 teams in the North Division. Stars win this game. Generals, whoever wins this game gets the 1 seed by themselves, much like the Stallions Breakers game. This game should be a good game, provided the Generals go to 1 QB. If they don't, the Stars will light them up with Brian Scott. So this game is going to depend on it. Will Mike Riley remove his head from his anus and know what to do at the quarterback position? I would say thank you guys for listening to this episode of Chris ranting about the USFL for about 40 minutes. Gosh, that's a long time. Sorry about that. I'll try to be more succinct later, but I'm trying to give you guys a good breakdown of what happened this week. After watching 12 hours of football, my brain's like, full of football stuff. So please follow our Facebook page for updates regarding the show. And you can also email us at sportsandmore with CT, capital C, capital T, @gmail.com. Sorry for late switch to like and subscribe stuff, guys. I'm doing this solo. It's me doing it by myself, so it takes some time to remember to do some of the tech stuff and talk to you guys at the same time. Tom will update you guys with the Facebook page, so you guys know, hey, this is posted with all our stuff. Tom will be back for our regular shows on YouTube and Anchor and our normal podcasting stuff, probably before the draft this week, which is Thursday. So if you want to watch the NFL draft, we'll give you guys probably a breakdown of what we think is going to happen. And until that time, you can watch all of our previous episodes on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, and the YouTube. You can also watch it on the YouTube. Make sure to like and subscribe if YouTube hasn't listed us as kids programming. Sorry about that. We will figure that out eventually. Maybe it's because, like Tom says, we're not swearing enough, so we're just listed as kids programs. I will not swear. Tom may have to pick up the slack for me. But I would like to thank all of you, probably the tens of the people listening to my ridiculous takes and remix about the USFL. And you 10 people are as many fans as the people who watch the Breakers Bandits game in person. Thank you for making us bigger than USFL. Thank you very much. And I will see you all next time. And remember to stay safe and healthy. Sports and More with Chris and Tom is brought to you by no one. All non-original thoughts and ideas were properly noted during each segment.